The next process will be to stand the cabinet up against the wall where it's going to be installed. So I've got the light kit in, I've got everything done. I'll just come up here to the end and pick up this cabinet and rotate the cabinet back to the wall. And then I'll go ahead and position it in the room where I want it. So if it needs to be slid one way or the other, you want to do that now. Otherwise, we're just going to move it back to the wall. This is an additional segment for the storage headboard. We're going to anchor the storage headboard now to the sideboards using some 1¼ screws. I'm going to lift the storage headboard lid. This is on the left side. And you'll notice that there's a block of wood down here with some pre-drilled holes that will accept these 1¼ screws. I'm going to take my driver and I'm going to put that right into position and anchor those to the side of the sideboard. And then I'm going to go to the other side of the storage headboard and do the same thing. Okay, now on the studio bed installation, you're going to now need to find the hardware box that says Studio. And that's kind of the desk hardware, and we're going to need a part of that right now during this installation. Okay, I've opened this box, and I'm going to take these frames out. You'll notice too there's a hardware kit there that we're going to use here in a minute. But the first thing that we'll want to do is grab these frames, and there's two of them. There's a left and a right. I have found a 5mm Allen wrench, not in the kit. You'll need to get a 5mm, and then a 10mm wrench. And I'm going to take this machine screw and this nylock nut off of this plate. It has a washer on both sides. Okay, I'm going to take that nylock nut off, grab that washer. I'll slip this plate off, and it has a neck on it there, and it has a washer. I'll leave that washer right in place. And then just for safekeeping, I'm just going to go ahead and put that washer back on there and just thread that on just lightly, and then I'm going to get it out of my way. I'll do the same thing on the other side so I can get both of these plates off. From the studio box now, I'm going to find the hardware kit here. There's some hinges down in there. I'm going to leave those in place for a minute, but I want to talk about these different screws. So there's some screws that are 1.5 inches long, black. We don't use those. We use a different mechanism to hold parts together, so I'm just going to set those aside. But what I am going to use is some of these 5/8 inch. There's a bag full of 5/8 inch pan head. A little bit of a rounded head, and they take a square bit, and we've included one in the manila envelope, so it's in the hardware kit that we send, so you'll use that square tip bit. The other bag that that you're going to use in a minute will be 5/8 inch, and they're a tapered head screw, and I'm going to hang on to those. I was going to pull this out and show it to you here. So this one's kind of a tapered head, and I'm going to use that one in a few minutes too. So I'm going to set those aside for a minute. So now I'm going to take these plates and these pan head screws, and I'm going to come right up here to this mechanism, or to this cabinet that I've got here. And I want to, if you notice right on the front, maybe the camera can come over here, right on this front edge, between this front stretcher, right at the bottom, you're going to see a series of 5 holes, and they correspond with these 5 holes here. Now you'll notice that this post I was talking about earlier is facing out, and the key here is that this plate has to fit into those holes. That will get the distance correct. So if your carpet is deep, you may need to slide this cabinet away from the wall before it's installed here, and just kind of lift up slightly on the front of this cabinet to get this to line up with those 5 holes on either side. We want these to be right in those holes. We don't want to make new holes because that will change the dimension. So what I'm going to do, because I am on carpet here, I'm going to go ahead and slide this cabinet forward ever so slightly, and I'll have Jake come over here and just kind of make sure that nothing tips over on me. I'm just going to slide it away. There we go. Now it's slightly off the ground there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these panhead screws, get 5 of them out here, and I'm going to make sure that that lines up nicely with those holes. So there we go. And I'll anchor that down. Going to go down all 5 of them. Like I said, that hole should be lined right up. Those holes should line up right with those marks on the wood. And now I'll go and do the other side as well. Again, that post is facing out. Get that lined up with those holes. All right. Get that collar back on there. Okay, now these other hardware pieces that we found with the plates and those arms, I'm just going to set aside, and we will use them, except for those 1.5 ones. We're going to use these in a later step. So I'm going to put these back in that box and just hold on to them. Okay, now we're going to make sure that we get this on the wall where we want it, because the next step is we're anchoring this cabinet right to the wall. So we'll slide this back to the wall, all the way tight against the bottom there, and then we will anchor this cabinet to the wall.